So we're here with Thomas Haggerty. He is a candidate in the election for the presidency of the University of Connecticut undergraduate student government, and he just surprised a room of about 110 people by testifying for the defendant in a judiciary case where that defendant is his opponent in the upcoming, as they say. Tom, what was the primary motivating factor that made you decide to deliver that testimony today?
Well, the reason I chose to do it was because after reviewing the policy and looking over it, we noticed that what was going on with Jason being potentially disqualified for canvassing on the off hours of 7 to 10, which is, says specifically in our guidelines, was completely contradicted by the people who created that policy. The director of Res Life and the director of, the Residence Education Office, who wrote the actual policy, told us on two separate occasions, Jason and I, a completely different policy. They gave us a completely different policy that completely contradicted what was put in place. And I felt, as a candidate who's running in this election, how are we supposed to agree to rules that the people who are creating the rules are contradicting? It doesn't make any sense. And you might as well throw away a winner to this election, because if there's no set rules in place that actually reflect what they're meant to say, then there's absolutely no reason to have anybody ever running for president of the student body, because we'll all get disqualified.
I just want to point out that as Tom's talking to us here, we have quite a crowd of people that are emerging from the hearing. What's happened is the justices have just adjourned in order to deliberate. So, Tom, when you were considering delivering this testimony, I mean, did it?
It was spring of the moment thing, because Jason and I we've worked really well, because these election rules have been very difficult for us to follow. They're very strict rules. It's very easy for us to get disqualified, especially because our supporters are primarily held accountable, or we are held accountable for anything our supporters do. So if they break an elections policy, our campaign is directly held responsible for that.
And did it ever occur to you that what you've done seems to be quite a selfless act? Did it ever occur to you that you could sit on the sidelines and hope that your opponent was disqualified? I mean, how did that calculus go in your mind?
That's wrong. That choosing to sit on the sidelines and not say anything about this, when from the get-go, both of us, Jason and I personally, have had problems with these guidelines, it's unacceptable. It's just not right. You cannot sit idly by and watch something get destroyed, because it really does. It destroys the legitimacy of our organization. If we have to follow rules that aren't really rules because the people who created the rules think they shouldn't be in place, then I can't sit idly by and we'll just watch that happen. I needed to take action, and I needed to do something about it.
And what about the argument?
Jason would do the same for me too, honestly.
What about the argument that the Ortiz Stauble campaign made, that they essentially at the end said that what they were doing was not canvassing at all, that it's a different thing than canvassing if you're with a guest?
That's how you define canvassing.
Well, I guess the question is, how has your campaign defined canvassing?
Well, we looked at the guidelines and we said, all right, you know what, these rules are really strict, and we'll follow the policy to the T. But at the same time, we asked those other questions, and we said, what if this happens? If this comes up, could our candidacy be disqualified? Could we be disqualified for this? I don't know if you're going to hear any of this, but...
Yeah, you better speak up. As we've said, there's quite a lot of commotion. There's a large attendance at the hearing.
We said, could we be disqualified for doing this? Because we were told at the beginning of the year, and I was told in my email, that I personally could go door to door as long as I had a friend with me on the off hours of 7 to 10. I could go door to door with them, knock on doors, and say, hey, I'm not canvassing, but I'm with a friend of mine, and he's running for an elected office, and I just wanted to introduce you to him. And if you haven't voted already, then check him out, check out his platform. We were told in the beginning of the year, when this was coming up in regular elections, that we were allowed to do this.
So is it safe to say that
was completely different.
Is it safe to say that your campaign internally has taken a similar interpretation on this matter to the Ortiz Stauble campaign?
We chose to look at it and we said, you know what, we want to ask the questions anyway. We followed the regular policy. We followed the policy that was put in place. We did 7 to 10. We had people sign up. We made sure that we followed it to the T. But in the back of our minds, we said, you know what? Potentially, candidates, based on what they told us at the beginning of the year, could create an entirely different campaign policy, or excuse me, campaign strategy. And we said, we'll follow the elections guidelines, but I swear to God, if anybody tries to disqualify a candidate for choosing to do this, we're going to speak out against it, because it's crap. It's crap.
I also want to ask you, you can look around with me here and see the gathering at what was really sort of a mundane judicial hearing. And all across the country, you're seeing engagement in student government and in political activism on campuses that hasn't happened in decades. Are you excited to be where you are right now?
I'm absolutely excited. I'm excited that people want to be involved in the process. I'm excited that people, were here based on whatever side they came on. They were here participating, which is really important. I really hope that the outcome favors Ortiz, doesn't disqualify, because honestly, it destroys the legitimacy of our organization. No matter who wins after this, there will always be this trial that came up tonight. And if it's me who won because somebody else got disqualified, then screw it. I'd resign. Because there is no point in me serving as president of the student body if I didn't have to run against anybody because the other guy got disqualified. That destroys my legitimacy as a candidate, and I'm not going to allow it to.
And just one last question. What do you think are some of the most distinct features of this generation of student activism? I mean, as a student leader, as someone who is seeking the highest office at one of the most renowned public universities in the country at a time when there's this upsurge in activism, what are the distinct features of this time, of this generation of activists?
The distinct features are people actually care. It's different. They actually care about what's going on in their campus. As you can tell by the amount of people who came into a room on, Tuesday night at 10:30, or Wednesday night at 10:30, people actually care about their stuff. There's not this giant sense of apathy on campus. There's a caring. They care about decisions that are made. They care what's going to happen, and that's a lot different from generations in the past couple years. So, don't mind me if I step away, but
yeah, that's it. Thank you very, very much.